This episode is proudly brought to you by the Afrocentric Group, Southern Africa's most diversified healthcare group, building a winning health offering. Hello and welcome to another edition of AI Impact Talk with me, Tembekile Mkhototo. And today we're focusing on South Africa's digital future and what goes into securing it as more and more industries are taking on technology, introducing artificial intelligence into the way in which they deliver products and services. How then do we make sure that that is a process that is safe for both the end user and indeed the company that is providing the particular service or business? And who better to talk to us today than the Chief Security Advisor at Microsoft South Africa, that's Kerissa Varma, who's with me here today. Kerissa, welcome to AI Impact Talk. Chief Security Advisor for Microsoft South Africa. Sounds like a lot of responsibility.
It is, and thank you so much for having me here. It's a big job. There's a lot of change happening on the continent, and cybersecurity is front and center for individuals like you and me, but also for businesses.
And when we talk about, I think, let's take it to a very basic level, cybersecurity, what do we mean? Because I think for a lot of us, we take for granted the idea that we understand terms because we hear them so much.
Yes, that's very true. I think the most simplest way of thinking about it is when you start driving, for example, you get a driver's license to be able to know the roads, the rules of the road, how to navigate traffic, how to keep yourself safe. Now, if you think about Africa, everyone is digitizing their business. They're starting to get more online capabilities. We as consumers are using more services online. And cybersecurity really keeps businesses and people safe in this digital world. So it's like having a driver's license to be able to navigate the digital economy.
And how safe are we then?
Well, Tembekile, the cybercrime is growing across Africa. It is becoming a bigger and bigger risk every day. And there's this, misconception that cybercrime will happen to someone else. It won't happen to me. There are bigger fish in the ocean for someone to target. But cybercriminals are indiscriminate. They focus on targeting not-for-profit organizations. They focus on targeting big corporates. They focus on targeting you and me. And everyone is really at risk at this point in time.
And what is their main objective? Because I remember a decade ago in the news, we spoke a lot about ransomware attacks, etc. But in the main, given how widespread a problem cybersecurity has become, what is the objective of the people behind the crime?
So historically, cybercrime has been motivated by financial gain. So ransomware, for example, like what you spoke about, is an attacker holding your data or encrypting your data and holding you ransom for money to be able to decrypt and give you access back to your data. It's extortion basically online. And that's financially motivated. There are huge syndicates that operate ransomware as a service. So for example, if you wanted to go and attack an organization or attack a person, you wouldn't need to have any technical background. You could consume a service from a company that's offering a ransomware as a service, and you could then go and attack a company and get money out of that. And that's ecosystem is self-funding because the revenue and the money they get out of attacks and what goes back into the engine to rebuild this. But actually what we're seeing is we're also seeing a transition from financially motivated crime to also things like espionage and nation state attacks, which is basically, if you look at the geopolitical climate right now, we are seeing cyber criminals enable governments to get upper hands on each other. And
so that implies, sorry, Kerissa, that there has to be, in terms of the response, a sort of multi-tiered response, right? From what you were saying at a bigger picture level, governments of the world ensuring the safety of business and individuals, but the businesses then on the next level doing their bit to make sure their customer is safe, and the customer then making sure that at an individual level, they too are putting in place guardrails.
Definitely. And attackers will always go to the weakest link in the chain. So if, for example, a government is, has citizens using their systems and the citizens are, uneducated about what cyber practices are, the citizens could become the weakest link to get into that system. So it is really an ecosystem that needs to operate securely. And that's the challenge. All of us need to become cyber savvy, just like that driver's license. So you wouldn't let someone on the road if they didn't have a driver's license. So this cybersecurity knowledge, this understanding about cybersecurity is fundamental to how we operate.
And in the South African value chain, then, is there a very clear area of weakness that is exploited most?
Yeah, so I mean, we're still seeing phishing as a huge entry point into multiple organizations, and this is going to continue. It's actually going to scale. If you think about AI, for example, attackers would need to go and investigate you and me to be able to create a ruse that would trick us to click on a phishing email, or in a phone call, be able to know our details to be able to pass off as something legitimate. Now, AI is enabling attackers to gather this information about us and then to be able to scale attacks faster. So it's becoming more and more difficult to pick this up as an end user.
And as a cost perspective, how much is it costing us?
So across Africa, cybercrime costs Africa around $8.4 billion a year. Now, if you think about this, Tembekile, the amount of money we're losing due to cybercrime,
8.4 billion.
8.4 billion. And if you think about injecting that back into our economies, injecting that back into our people, injecting that back into our businesses, that loss potential has a massive ability to transform Africa, to transform our economies, to transform the capabilities that our people are faced with every day. So it's a massive avenue that if we curb, there's huge potential to do something good with that money.
So from that 8.4 billion rand, do we have a clear enough $1 billion, pardon me. Oh, I actually feel lightheaded having to say that. $8.4 billion lost because of cybercrime. Can you contextualize that loss, what it means in real terms?
So if you think about an organization, a small organization out there, and we've seen over the last few months, we've seen everyone from blood banks being hit by cybercrime to hospitals being hit by cybercrime. It's not just money out the door, it's actually people's lives. So if you imagine a hospital be falling prey to ransomware, for example, and you're a patient at that hospital going in to get a surgery or medical advice or something of the sort, it's impacting your health, it's impacting your ability to get good healthcare. So these cyber attacks scale beyond financial impact. They impact everyone at a human level. They are impacting lives, livelihoods, and it's becoming increasingly complex to navigate.
It takes us to one of the big conversations, right, within the AI space about the value of data in the modern world. Because ultimately, that is what the criminals want, the data.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting because I believe that AI is going to transform our ability to protect ourselves. So if you think about what AI is good at, it's good at analyzing data and coming back with patterns. And if security practitioners can understand these patterns before attackers utilize these patterns to infiltrate organizations or infiltrate governments, it gives us the proactive ability to go and close down weaknesses that attackers could actually exploit. It gives us the ability to say to our consumers, here's the areas of risk that you should be watching out for. So much more targeted awareness to our consumers. And I really do believe that AI is going to give cyber defenders an upper hand.
And I want to talk to you about that in a moment, regarding risk mitigation and how the AI itself is now giving answers and ways to do that better than, say, 10, 15 years ago? Yeah,
definitely. We're seeing at Microsoft that our customers are seeing a 30% reduction in incidents using artificial intelligence. And this is a really important metric because we can't prevent incidents 100% of time. They're going to happen, but our ability to respond to them faster and react to them faster means less harm. So the ability to get 30% faster at reacting to incidents means that we're closing down incidents before they impact you and me, before an attacker is able to steal money or encrypt data so that it can't be used. We're able to close that down using AI.
So prevention being better than cure.
Yeah. And when an attack does happen, being able to contain it quickly.
And when these different products in terms of risk mitigation are introduced, what sort of testing are they taken through to make sure that they don't end up, for example, in the wrong hands, or they don't have gaps that leave millions of people exposed?
Yeah, it's so important. We've got this concept in cybersecurity that speaks about shift left. And what that means is as you are developing products or releasing products, make sure that you're building security all the way in the beginning and then throughout the journey and testing it at each iteration. It's really interesting. I mean, Microsoft's got the oldest or the first artificial intelligence security testing team in the world. Our security testing team is the most advanced in the world. We're actually teaching other security testing teams how to test AI. And we've been doing this since 2018. So we've got a wealth of understanding. Because we build AI products, we have to make sure that our AI products are secure. So we've invested very early on in making sure that we've got proper practices, proper testing of our products before they go out.
And how rigorous a testing process is it?
So it's continuous. So we don't stop testing. We continuously test all parts of our environment. We continuously test and we continuously learn because attacks are changing, right? I mean, if you think about attacks from 3 years ago, they're different to the attacks we're facing today. So that continuous testing and understanding of knowledge. And we spend a lot of time sharing the information. So we don't, even with our competitors, we share insights around what attackers are doing. We share insights around threats to our technology and competitor technology. So when we find issues with competitor technology, we share that with the community and with our competitors because we believe exactly what you said in the beginning. It's an ecosystem. We can't just secure one element and then expect that the entire world is going to be secure.
Because if, as you're saying, it's an ecosystem, if I'm exposed and we're doing business, you're exposed.
Exactly. Because we're all reliant on each other. So that self-identification of risk and continuous learning and adapting and improving, but also building a community and sharing that information broadly is very important.
And how seriously do you think South African business is taking the issue of cybersecurity, given that a lot of industries, I mean, Microsoft is a leader in the space, but there are other, perhaps smaller companies, right, that are trying their best to scale up. And often they're just taking on products, not really knowing how to use them in the safest way possible.
Yeah, that's so true. And we're really seeing this in the SME space as well, where people are struggling with budgets. They're struggling to be able to afford, security skills, security technology, etc. And so when we go back to that conversation about having a driver's license, yes, it has a cost. Yes, you're going to have to educate yourself. But actually, you're going to prevent death. You're going to prevent fines. You're going to prevent, loss of revenue in the long term. And so I really encourage people to take a longer term view to investment in cybersecurity. Don't think about the immediate outlay of cost now, but think about what it's going to do for your business in the long term. Something really critical. More and more investors are looking at the cyber hygiene of companies before they invest in them. So companies are going to start hitting a ceiling where they don't have the practices to be able to get foreign investment or to be able to get investment at all. And so having good cyber practices, like you wouldn't invest in a trucking company where the drivers don't have driver's licenses. Similar to cybersecurity, you wouldn't invest in a business doing operating online where they don't have strong
so the safety of your investment has also extended to assessing the protection of the system from an AI perspective.
Exactly.
You then, I'm interested in what you were saying earlier about how you also train other businesses. When you come in, what do you find are the common mistakes?
So I think there's a couple of things. There's always a shared responsibility model between technology providers and businesses using technology. And it's irrespective of AI. It could be cloud, it could be any type of product that you're buying. There's always a piece of security responsibility, cybersecurity responsibility that sits with the customer and a part that sits with a company like Microsoft. So I think it's really important for customers that are adopting AI to understand what that shared responsibility is. What is their accountability in the journey and what is Microsoft's accountability in the journey? And then to plan to make sure that they've put proper practices in place. So really easy example, for example, is giving users access to AI.
Right.
That's not something that Microsoft will control. That is something that the user of our products will control. And you get to decide who gets that access, how much access they get, when they get that access, what are they allowed to do with that access.
Micro level.
Exactly. So there's always that shared responsibility. And I really encourage people to think through their responsibility as they start adopting AI technology.
I want to go back then to what we were talking about earlier about the different levels. And I want to talk about the economic benefit We've spoken about the loss, potential economic benefit for even a country like South Africa, right?
Yeah.
If we get these basics right.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. So I'll talk about one particular thing, right? I mean, in Africa, we've got the youngest population in the world. Like more than 60% is under 25 in Africa. And if you think about what the world is going to need going forward, we're going to need AI skills. We're going to need cybersecurity skills. Why is Africa not that engine that builds that? And so Microsoft has done quite a few things over the last few months. I mean, we've invested in, we're going to be upskilling 1 million people in South Africa, in Kenya, and in Nigeria over the next year in AI and cybersecurity. Now, we've got such an innovative culture in Africa. If you think about people that, I mean, African spirit is really like make a plan, we'll get it done.
We've got very little, but we can stretch it,
but
right?
we can stretch it, right? And we're innovative in the way we think about it, right? I mean, you know, you don't have a supermarket in your township, you build a spaza shop. So really innovative thinking in the way we solve our own problems, and we understand our problems better than anyone else in the world can understand them. So I think this opportunity with us upskilling people in across the continent is going to generate, first of all, an understanding of the technology, but also, help people to try and figure out how do they build businesses off this. Small businesses that can then start generating money in their local environments and perhaps grow into something bigger.
With that then, on the upskilling, these mainly young people, because that is where we're told much of Africa's potential lies. We're a majority young, youthful population, let's say.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of young people that could benefit from it, but there's no age to this, right? I mean...
so I haven't missed it.
No, you haven't.
I haven't missed the cutoff.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I was talking to some of my family members, my mom, etc., on AI and how it's being used. Everyone has the opportunity to learn, and everyone has the opportunity to capitalize of it. So there is no age restriction to this. It's an opportunity that everyone should take, in both hands and really try and capitalize on.
So what will the upskilling entail?
So let me talk to you about Microsoft recently turned 50. So
happy birthday.
Thank you. I mean, a tech company.
50 years. Can you believe it?
50 years in technology. It's amazing. I mean,
the world was so different.
I know.
In 75.
I know. So we have deep insights worth 50 years of everything that's changed. We collect something like 78 trillion signals a day. So we have a lot of insight into what's happening in the world.
I mean, it's one of those brands that everyone knows.
Exactly. But we've now got an AI skilling event that's on at the moment. It's running for 50 days. It is free for everyone to participate in. You can go into it and get free material, listen to talks, and it's everything from business enablement on AI as well as deep technical enablement on AI. So everyone has an opportunity to learn during this event. And I think there's so many opportunities like this. I think people just need to not panic, not feel fear about the change, and really embrace the change to become part of it.
And how does, you spoke about no one being too old, Microsoft, 50 years old. How does a 50-year-old organization make sure that it remains ahead of the curve in an increasingly competitive environment globally?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I joined Microsoft in October last year, Temekile, and the amount of change that I've seen over 6 months, it's just astounding. I mean, when I started, people were talking about using artificial intelligence, and it was a big hype. There weren't any really good use cases around, practically how do you do this? We very quickly started to talk about AI enabling cybersecurity teams, and now security teams are actually using AI agents. So the amount that has changed in just 6 months is phenomenal. And the company continuously transforms technology, transforms practices to remain relevant because the world is changing so quickly.
And looking ahead then, how, perhaps that's one of our parting shots, a bit of advice for everyone who's going to see this conversation, going to listen, about how they then in their business space could perhaps radically improve their approach to cybersecurity.
So I think the one thing I say to all customers, and it doesn't matter your size, you can be a small customer, you can be a big customer,